Wow. Having technical difficulties. I think I may have just gotten it. Okay, how about now? Okay, guys, can you see and hear me now? Put a comment in if you can see and hear me. That's good. Okay. Ha! Thank goodness. Sorry about that, and thanks for waiting. Thank goodness. Okay. Let me Sorry about that. Thanks for waiting. Ah. User error. Okay. If we could get that computer back up and working, I'm going to switch back over to where I was going to have this live stream. But for now, at least I could get started. Okay. No, it wasn't YouTube. It was user error. Completely my bad. I set up the timer, the countdown timer, and I was all ready to go. And then there was just nothing. Couldn't figure it out. Refreshed the browser, shut everything down, turned it back on again. I'm like, what's going on? I forgot to hit go live. That was it. I forgot to actually hit the go live button. So it wasn't live. Sorry about that. Okay. I'm new to this. Thanks for your patience with me while I figure out how to use basic technology. Okay. Now I have to recompose myself and actually get back in the mindset of what I was about to do. Okay, so thanks for joining me, gardeners. Welcome to this live stream. Today we're going to be talking about how to start a gardening business. Hopefully, if I can get through all of the stuff, we'll go from start to finish, like everything that you need. And there's quite a bit. So what I'm going to start with is by saying that this is a business that's fairly easy to start as far as like barriers to entry, and like you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of capital to get started. You don't need a lot of money. If you can start with just a set of tools, your own skills, and a truck maybe, you can do this. You can do this business. What you really need is the skills and the mindset. So you have to know what service you're going to offer. Specifically, what services do you know and what are you good at? And then you have to figure out, and you need your tools for doing that. And that's really all you need to get started. Now, what are the steps to getting started? Okay, so next I would just want to mention, one second, I'm just gonna, okay, that little bit of backstory here. I had this idea ages ago that I wrote down in my idea book, which I keep right here. And I showed this in one of my classes earlier. Yeah, hold questions until I actually get to the topics. So let me actually mention that. Thank you, Haley, for asking. If you guys have questions, you'll want to like have them written down or type them out ahead of time. And I'm going to cover a lot of stuff in the next hour or so. We have until my baby wakes up. So whenever that happens is when I have to end the live stream, but it should be about an hour. Have them all typed out and make sure you have something to write notes on, because there's going to be a lot of information in this. So years ago, I had an idea of like, this is a class that'd be easy to teach. I could teach people this. It'd be so easy. And so I wrote down everything that I would put into a class. And that was that. I wrote it down so I could get the idea out of my head. And I was not going to act on this until I had at least, I think the goal was 40 or 50,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. That's when I was going to start maybe considering doing something with this information. Well, then 2-3 years ago now, I was approached by two ladies at almost exactly the same time, like within weeks of each other, that both asked me if they could take me out to coffee or lunch and pick my brain about how to start a business like mine. And I kind of chuckled and I was like, oh, honey, you can't cover all this in lunch. You just can't. And then I was like, well, but I happen to have this class I've been thinking about putting together, and if you'll be my guinea pigs for it, I'll do the class with you for free. And they did it, and they had a blast. I said, I just need your feedback. I need to know what worked, what didn't. And they said it was absolutely phenomenal. And the one that did go on to start her own business, like her life took her in a different direction and she couldn't start. But the one that did just finished her second very successful year with her new business. And that is a local company called Mulch On. Her name is Jan, and she attributes a fair amount of her success to my class. Now, I think she would have done fine on her own. But she said this made it much, much, much easier. So I'm not going to like hard sell my class. Okay. It's not ready to be sold for starters. What I am going to do is just say that if you want more information on this, there's a link to my email, and you can go to my website down in the description below this video. Go to my website, click on Gardeners in Business, the tab, and you'll see a description of everything, all the topics that I cover in that class. And if you're interested in it, send me an email. Like I said, it's not ready for sale. It's not polished. It's very, very rough. But the information is there, and the information is very good. So go ahead and look into that for more information. And that's all I'm going to say about that until the end of this video, when I just remind you that that's a thing you can do. Okay. Now, having said that, this class is 11 sessions long. Each session is 40 minutes to an hour. And I am going to cram as much of that information as I can into this 1 hour live stream. So buckle your seatbelts, kids. Let's go. How we're going to do this is I'm going to mention a topic. I'm going to say a little bit about that topic. And if you have any questions, shoot the questions down in the comments. Awesome, Haley. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your email on this. And I'm going to try to answer the questions as we go, but I want to keep them relevant to the topic we're talking about. Otherwise, we're going to be all over the place. Okay. Let me just make sure that's all the preamble I needed to mention. Yes, I believe it was. Okay, onward. Topic number 1 is mindset and existence. And what I mean by this, do you have the business mindset? Do you have an entrepreneurial mindset? Because I'll tell you what, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart or the weak of stomach. Okay, it is hard. Like, you hear jokes and stuff about this all the time, about how hard it is to run a business. It's real. It's not a joke. It is really, really hard. Even a small scale business, there's so much that happens behind the scenes that people don't have any idea about. And so having the mindset of that, what's the word? Stick-to-itedness, stubborn. You got to be stubborn. You got to start. For one thing, you have to have the guts to start, and then you have to keep going. And sometimes just taking that next step takes more energy than you can even muster. So the mindset is thing number 1 that you have to have. The second is some system of existence. And what I mean, I talked about this a lot in my last live stream last week about how to keep track of everything, how to manage a calendar, how to keep track of your appointments and your to-do items, how to delegate, how to do all of these things that you'll need to be able to do to run a business. So, having said all of that, once you get started, it is your job to delegate as much as you can so that you can continue to work on your business and not get stuck working in your business. So as much as I love gardening, I actually don't do very much of the gardening anymore. I had to take a really honest effort to schedule a day every day last year, or every week last year. I worked on Thursdays. I actually got to work in the field, and it was so wonderful. It was so great. Being out in the field again was awesome. It meant it took away one of my office days, and it made things a little bit more difficult to manage in the office, but it was worth it, in my opinion, because I haven't worked in my business for so long that it really felt good. But I was still working on the business because I was seeing everything from both sides of things. Okay, mindset and existence. Any questions on that? Type them into the comments right now, because we're about to move forward. And then is the camera on that one working again?
No.
Okay. All right. I guess this is my background today. I was going to have this in front of the bookshelf and everything. It was going to look much nicer, but whatever. Here we are. Okay. Next topic is plans and purpose. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one. Excuse me. Okay. What I mean by plans and purpose is your business plan. What a business plan is really is an outline of how you intend to open your business, run your business, etc. You're going to have all kinds of details in there, like where your funding is going to come from, who your target market's going to be, what services you're going to offer, what kind of tools or employees you're going to need, etc., etc., etc. And the point of a business plan is to first lay out your thoughts in a way that makes sense. But then secondly, it's really to get funding. Like you really only need a fancy detailed business plan if you're going to ask a bank for a loan. So don't go too crazy about making a business plan correctly. Like you're not going to try to do it right, so to speak. It's just do a business plan for you so that you can see everything laid out on paper. And the really important part of it for you is market research. Who is your target market going to be? And what services are you going to offer? Is there a niche for that? Is there a need for that service? I'll tell you what, I cannot believe how many people are happy to open their wallets and pay me to pull weeds. It seems like such a simple thing to me, but people are willing to pay for it. It is absolutely a solid business plan as far as like there is a market for it. But maybe you don't want to pull weeds. Maybe you want to just draw designs. Maybe you just want to plant flowers. Maybe you want to grow flowers as like a nursery, or maybe you want to tear out lawns and put in xeric beds instead. You know, there's a million things you can do in this industry. It doesn't have to be what I do. It could be mowing lawns. Everybody mows lawns, but that market may already be saturated. So, you know, you got to look and see if there is one, a need, and two, demand. Okay. Next, purpose, vision, and mission statements. This is one of those things that a lot of business owners never get around to doing. They overlook it. And I did too for a while, honestly. It took me a long time before I realized it's important to have this. But it really is important to have mission and vision. It is like a compass that keeps you pointing north. So you'll remember what your business is about, what you're for, what your purpose is. And so I actually did a class with Dave Ramsey a few years ago with a couple of my senior employees, and we wrote our purpose, our vision, and our mission statement, and it's posted right here on the wall. Let me read it to you. I don't have this posted in very many places. I think I have it on my website, but that's about it. So our purpose, this is the why you're a business. Our purpose, we exist to beautify our communities by educating people and caring for plants and land. That's it. That's why my company exists. Our vision, which is Dave Ramsey explains it as the where you're going to work, is build long-term relationships by following our purpose. So the where we work is in the relationships with our clients and other people. Our mission, provide peace of mind and satisfaction by diligently creating, rejuvenating, and maintaining natural spaces in aesthetic, ethical, and sustainable ways, and by sharing our practices. So, you know, a lot of people wonder why I'm giving away my business secrets. There's nothing secret about what I'm doing, for starters, but I like to share these practices, which is the point of this YouTube channel. You know, I started this originally so that I could train my employees, because it was a lot faster to just send my employees a video and say, okay, here's what the training's going to be on. Watch this first. So they would get the basics of what we were going to do, and then we would practice it in my yard. But I really enjoyed making those videos, and that's why I continued the channel. But yeah, sharing our practices is an important part of my business. and who we, the royal we, but me and my crew, we are as a company. Okay, that's plans and purpose. Again, these are hour-long lessons that I'm shoving into like 5 minutes. So I'm giving you just enough information to get you into a lot of trouble. But all right, here we are getting into the meat and potatoes of the things that you need in order to start a business like this. The first thing you're going to need is relationships with professionals. And by professionals, you're going to need a CPA or an accountant. Okay, a good CPA is worth their weight in gold because they will save you far more than what they cost. My CPA, my accountant, you're so welcome. And you do make me smile. Every one of your comments makes me smile. My accountant, I call her my CPA, but I don't actually think she has an official license yet. She does everything a CPA does, and she knows just as much. So she's awesome like that. She does my payroll, which is a huge weight off my shoulders because I know it's being done correctly, for one thing, and I don't have to know how to do it. Like all of the taxes, the filings, the laws and the math and all that stuff, I've never done it, and I don't want to because that's just a whole nother level of headache that I'm not interested in. So my accountant does that. And she does my taxes at the end of the year. But she's also a resource for any tax-related question I could throw at her. If she doesn't know the answer off the top of her head, she finds it. And that's one of the things that I love about her specifically so much is your accountant should be a resource for you. And yeah, you might have to pay for their time in that research. That's fine. It saved you a lot more time and a lot more headache trying to find the answer yourself. So an accountant is number one, the most important professional you'll want to have in your corner. Yeah, it is a brutal professional test. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now I'm going to share with you a couple of tricks for finding a good accountant. Okay, Haley, run this by your husband and see if he knows these. Okay, so what I tell people to do is to find out and know all of the details about one tax strategy. It doesn't matter which one, but I'll tell you a couple in a second. You'll want to know everything about this strategy because you're going to pretend you don't and kind of quiz them on it. Okay, the ones that I recommend are paying your kids, writing off your home office, or I forget the name of this one, but it's the one where you can rent your house to your business for up to 14 days a year. And it's called not the Atlanta law. I don't remember. Haley, if you know it. So basically, paying your kids is if you own a home-based business or a small business, as long as it is an LLC, you can hire your children. And there's different strategies depending on how old they are. But anybody under 18, you can pay them as an independent contractor and avoid paying income taxes because under 18s don't pay income taxes. There's rules with this, okay? And you have to make sure to do it legally. But a lot of CPAs are like, oh my God, you can't do that. You'll get audited and blah, 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 blah. And they just freak out. Like this is the most illegal, awful thing you could ever suggest doing. It's not illegal. It's perfectly legal. It's written in the tax law. You can do this. You have to do it correctly. And that's the part that you want to make sure that you know what the correct methods are. But if the accountant that you're interviewing literally flies off the handle, like this is awful, you can't do it, they're not the accountant for you, move on. Or if you're already working with this accountant, fire them and find one that knows what the tax code is. Because that's the whole thing. That's what you're hiring them for. They should know these strategies and be able to teach them to you so that you can use them. Because the whole reason they exist is to save you money on your taxes. Okay? So if you want more information on any of these strategies, I recommend you go to Mark Kohler's YouTube channel. And let me post his name in the comments. It's literally Kohler like the faucet. company. Okay, Mark Kohler. He is an accountant, CPA, and lawyer. He's a real estate lawyer as well as a CPA. And he does his YouTube channel and he does talking events. And you'd think a lawyer and an accountant would be like the most boring, dry person you could ever talk to, but he's not. He's incredibly entertaining. He does have a rather dry sense of humor, but he's entertaining. He's fun to listen to. So you can learn all these strategies from him and then use them to interview an accountant and find a good accountant. He also has a team of accountants all over the country. So that's a resource you can use to help interview an accountant so you can find a good one for you. Okay. And again, my suggestions for strategies are paying your kids. If you have kids, you want to pay them, you want to hire them. We save thousands of dollars every year by hiring Lily. Okay. And then writing off your home office and writing off other things like your cell phone. Your cell phone's a write-off if you're in business, and any accountant that says otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. Okay. And, anything, write off anything. I wrote off my lawnmower because I'm a green industry business and I needed a lawnmower to maintain my training grounds. And occasionally I do actually use it for clients. So it is absolutely a write-off. But I purchased it for my property first. But it's a write-off because it's related to my business. So, and my CPA totally got behind that. She's like, yeah, that's awesome. That's absolutely a write-off. So again, if your CPAs shy away from these things, you might want to consider firing them and hiring a different one. All right. The next professional you're really going to want to have in your corner, maybe, this depends, it's up to you, is a lawyer, some kind of a legal team. Okay. Even if you don't, hire them on retainer or pay them by the hour or however that works. Lawyers get expensive, so you may only need them every now and again. I personally have a subscription with Legal Shield, and it's not cheap, but it's not expensive, and it has paid for itself many times over. I think my subscription is somewhere around $1,200 a year for my small business, and I have had them do everything from simply reading my contracts and my employee handbook to recently I had an L&I claim that I'm being accused for, even though I don't think my business had much of anything to do with it. But guess what? I have a lawyer who's helping walk me through this versus just flying blind. So it's nice to have a legal counsel that you can just call anytime you want. So Legal Shield is the company that I use for my legal counsel, and I can't recommend them highly enough. I absolutely love them. All right. So that's two professionals. The next thing is licenses. So if you don't have your pen and paper out, get them out now. Business licenses, your business structure, so your LLC or your S Corp, and then all of the other things you're going to need. It's state specific, so I'm not going to go into details of you need this license, you need this license, you need this license. What I will do is say that if you're going to be an LLC, you get your LLC before you get your business license. In order to get your LLC, you have to pick a name. Before you get your LLC and pick a name, find your domain name first and buy the website. Don't make the mistake I did, where I found an available name because it had an available website address. The URL gardenup.com was available, but I didn't buy it right away. And when I got around to buying it, it was gone. Don't do it that way. That is why my website is gardenuplandscape.com and not gardenup.com, because GardenUp was now taken. Bad. Don't do it that way. Buy the domain before you even go out to buy the website. If you buy a brand new domain from GoDaddy, it's like $2 or something. Do it first. Do that first. As soon as you have the domain name, then you'll have your business name. So get your domain, then get your LLC if you're going to be an LLC. I don't know how it fits with S Corps and all that stuff because I haven't done that yet. Most small landscaping businesses are LLCs. You could also be a sole prop, okay, a sole proprietor, but then you are personally taking on all of the liability for your company. Don't do that. Don't do that. One of the biggest secrets to building wealth and being successful in business is that you should not own anything personally. We, my husband and I, don't own anything. We manage our companies, and everything else is owned either within a company, like an LLC, or it's within a trust. We don't have our names on anything. And that's how to protect yourself from any kind of litigation, being sued. You might think, oh, it'll never happen to me. I'm not. Take the precautions ahead of time, because you never know. You might get a random client who thinks that you've wronged them somehow, and they come after you. You don't know. There are some really nasty people out there, and unfortunately, there's no way to find out if they're nasty until after they get that way. So, like I said, don't own anything, and this is something that your CPA and lawyer should be able to help you with. And your business should be in an entity, something other than a sole proprietorship. LLC is the easiest one to start. The license in Washington is $200 a year. For the amount of protection you get from having that LLC, it's so worth the $200. Okay. And I don't know if it's like that in every state. It might be different. I don't know. You're going to have to look it up in your area. But okay, so those are the first two things you're going to need is your LLC and your business license. Then you have to sign up for all of your state tax accounts and the federal tax accounts. You have to apply for your UBI and your EIN. Okay. Again, this is why you need an accountant. They should be able to help you with all of this, especially because, again, this is state specific. So every state is different. Every state and every jurisdiction within the states will require different licenses. Because I work inside of the municipality of Spokane, I just found out about this recently. I'm supposed to have a nursery's license because I buy plants from nurseries and resell them. I need a nursery's license. And because I put plants into the ground, I'm also supposed to have a contractor's license. I only found out about this recently, and I've been in business for almost 10 years. So, yeah, working on those. And sometimes I swear some of these licenses, they only require so that they can get more revenue. Like, why? Why is this necessary? I don't know, but it is. It's just a thing you've got to do. So I will say, use your CPA and your lawyer to help make sure that you have got everything you need in order before you actually start. Because as soon as you start taking clients, you're not going to have time to fiddle with this stuff anymore. It is time consuming getting all of these licenses and stuff in order. So you'll want to get it done before you open your doors. And that is probably, aside from the tools and your vehicle, probably the biggest investment you're going to have is buying all of these licenses. Individually, they don't cost that much. Like I said, the LLC is like $200. Renewing my business license every year is like $60 or something. I think it's maybe $90 after the fees for my employees. Not a big deal, really, in the grand scheme of things. And there's a few other, and again, each license has its own fees, and it's going to be different everywhere, in every state and in every city of every state. So make sure you find the information for yourself. The easiest way to find this information, if you don't have an accountant or a lawyer, is Google. But you're going to have to be like sifting through a lot of information. And I'll tell you the other thing. If you Google search how to start an LLC in whatever state, expect to get spammed with so many ads. So many ads. Every banner ad and every ad before a YouTube video for the next month is going to be about somebody offering to help you set up your LLC. For a low fee, I'll help you set up your LLC. Don't fall for it. Just don't. It's so easy to get an LLC. It literally takes about 20 to 30 minutes to fill out the form, and then you pay the fee and it's done. Do not hire anybody for that. Okay. Just don't. Another thing that you'll need, again, I found out about this a little bit too late. not too late. I bought my big truck. Okay, this was a big investment. I bought a big old F450 flatbed chassis thing. It's huge, right? It has a several ton towing capacity, and like we could haul so many leaves in that thing. It's amazing. Well, once you get a truck that's above, I think it's 1,100 pounds or 11,000 pounds, I think, you have to have a DOT number on that truck. Okay, a DOT number is a special license that says you are in business and you have a big truck. That's essentially what it is. It tells the government what you're using that truck for, whether or not you will cross state lines, and if you are carrying any hazardous materials or whatever, right? So you fill out the form. Again, filling it out the first time is the most labor intensive. I just renewed it this last March. It took 5 minutes. It's not a big deal, but you'll get spammed by so many companies that just want to help you set up or renew your DOT line. Oh my God, just don't hire any of them. They're not worth it. Yeah, perfect. A Subaru Outback and a little trailer that, yes, perfect. That is absolutely perfect. You don't need a DOT number for that. That's excellent. All right. Now, your federal filing, like your IRS thing, again, your accountant should help you with this. I don't want to spend too much more time on this because it's a rabbit hole that I could spend the next hour talking about. But ask your accountant and ask your lawyer. If you don't want to get an accountant and a lawyer, here's another little hack. I just learned that libraries, public libraries, some of them, I don't know if all of them do this, but they have a business department where there is an employee, like a librarian, that's on staff, whose entire job is to help entrepreneurs. So you go in there to the library's business department with a question, or I want to start a business, what licenses do I need, or whatever, and that person will help you line up everything you need. And that's awesome. There are resources, there's websites, there's classes, there's all kinds of things, all free through your local library. There might be a subscription fee or something for some of them. So I can't say they're all free. I don't know. But I just learned about this last fall, and I'm blown away by how much there was as far as resources available. It was absolutely incredible. All right. Next topic. What's next on the list? Okay, what you need to start. Your capital and your tools. Okay, so capital is a fancy word for money. You really don't need a lot of money to start this business. I already kind of mentioned that. What you will need is a business bank account. You absolutely have to have a business bank account separate from your personal bank accounts. This is the easiest way. Hey there, Right Farmhouse. Thanks for joining us. That is the easiest way to keep your finances separate from personal and business, because trying to sort them out at the end of the year, one, it'd be a nightmare, and two, you're asking to get audited. But I mean, if you have a good CPA, maybe they can help you sort it out. I don't know. I can't fathom that idea. I just have different debit cards for each business that we have, and I use that debit card for that purchase. Done. If I'm buying stuff for multiple businesses or personal and business, I do separate transactions at the register, and I write down what it was on the receipt when I leave. I make sure the receipt is legible, so it doesn't just have like the what's it called, the number on the barcode or whatever, and then the price. It actually says what it is that I bought and what business purchased it, so that I can put that receipt in the right file when I get home. Done. I never have to think about it again. Okay. I highly recommend doing it that way. Do not try to mix personal and business. It's absolutely awful. All right. Next topic. Yeah, and the one way to say this is you want to have a solid and impenetrable wall between your business's finances and your personal. You'll never ever use your personal debit card for a business purchase or vice versa. You just don't want to do that. If your business runs out of money, you'll want to extend it a short-term loan from your personal accounts, but that's a loan. You're going to transfer money from your personal account into your business one. You're not going to just start using your personal account. Okay. Now, as for loans, I do not recommend going into debt to start this kind of a business. maybe an auto loan if you need one, but I don't think it's needed. If you want to slow the growth of your business, add debt payments onto your monthly bills. That'll slow you down so much. It'll be far better with this kind of a business to go in debt-free and let it grow organically. Purchase things as you can afford them. Start small. Okay. And you won't need very much capital. Again, just enough to buy your licenses, I didn't mention insurance. You need your insurance, your tools, and again, a vehicle if you need it. You can even get by without a vehicle if you want to just get started. Here's how you do that. If you need to haul debris, rent a U-Haul truck. They're like $25 to $30 to rent a U-Haul truck for a day. It's great. You can also rent a trailer. $50 to $60 rents you a trailer from U-Haul. It's really surprisingly affordable. Or the other option is you just don't haul debris. It's just not part of your services. The client has to figure it out. Either they put it in their green bin or their compost bin, or they haul it. It's just, every company has a different list of services, and sometimes hauling debris isn't part of it. It's fine. You'll still find clients. It'll be easier for your clients if you haul the debris away. But if you don't have a vehicle and you're just getting started, don't limit. Do not start because you don't have a truck. Let me put it that way. All right. How am I doing on time? 11:43. We're actually getting through things. All right. We're only on topic 4. I got to move faster. Any questions so far, guys? Put them in the comments and I will answer them as I go. Okay. To continue on, again, if you ask questions, I'll answer them as soon as I notice that they're there. Buy enough tools for yourself and one assistant if you want one, and use the cash that you currently have. To get cash coming in fast, you got to focus on cash flow, and you're going to do that by invoicing right away. And that's especially when you're starting your brand new business and at the beginning of each year. As soon as you finish a job, invoice that job. Hopefully your client pays you quickly, and then you get cash coming in and you get cash flowing, and then you have money to make payroll, buy more tools, and reinvest. Pay for gas and pay for your insurance and all of those things. You can also charge a deposit for new clients. So I didn't used to do this, and I started it for 2 reasons. One, it's cash in hand right now. It's a guarantee of payment. So you're at least going to get the amount of the deposit that you charged, whether or not the client stiffs you later or not. Hopefully they don't. It happens though. And also it solidifies the agreement that they will pay you when they finish. But the main reason is that cash in hand, and it formalizes that agreement. I'll tell you, there were some weeks when I was worried that I wouldn't make payroll. And having a couple of consultations where that resulted in a signed contract and a deposit, they made the difference between me making payroll that week or not. And I cannot emphasize this strategy enough. Get at least some payment up front as soon as you take on a new client. All right. Haley asks, what type of insurance should we be acquiring? Okay. That's a fun one. So you'll need business insurance. So call up your insurance company, tell them about the kind of business you're thinking of opening, and see if they even cover it. But you'll need some kind of business liability insurance, and you will also need insurance on your vehicles. So the business liability insurance, this covers, goodness, they're all different, and I shouldn't even be talking about this. I'm really not even qualified to talk about this, but it should cover your business and liability, meaning if you screw up and break something on somebody's property, it should cover that. Now, the one time that I did actually make a mistake where I thought maybe I should get this covered by insurance, they didn't actually cover the thing that I did, because of course not. But the idea is that if you accidentally cut down the wrong tree or something, it should be able to cover the assessed value of that tree you accidentally cut down. In my case, it was I installed landscape fabric and put rock mulch back over it, where I knew better. I hate rock mulch. I hate fabric. I don't know what made me think I would want to even do this job, but for some reason I signed up for it. And then, yeah, it went wrong. The weeds started growing through within a month. And there was just nothing we could do about it. So, but insurance should cover things like that. And you'll want to shop around to make sure that you have insurance that covers things that might happen to you specifically. And then vehicle insurance, you're going to want a pretty large policy because, and this is rumor, I don't know if this is actually true, but there's people out there on the road that see a business vehicle and they see it as a target because they know that that business vehicle probably has good insurance and they're going to get a new car out of the deal or something. I don't know. But yeah, right. I hate landscape fabric, but awful. But so you'll want to talk with your insurance agent about this to figure out what the best policy is for you. But it needs to cover your employees, any employees that might be driving your vehicle, and a really healthy liability amount so that if you are in an accident with your vehicle and it is your fault, you're covered. Because you don't want to be at fault in an accident and then get sued for $1 million and have no way to pay for it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So anything else on insurance? Because that's such a fun topic. I just love talking about that one. All right. Here's another little pro tip. If you ever take out a loan or a line of credit for your business, never, ever give the creditor your personal Social Security number. They're going to ask for it, but they shouldn't need it. They should need your business's EIN, that's employer identification number. If you give them your personal Social Security number, it muddies the veil between personal and business. And it actually means that you're giving them a personal guarantee on the debt. So if your business closes, you are still liable for that debt personally, and they will come after you and it will go on your personal credit report. You don't want that. So if you ever apply for loans, make sure you're only giving them your EIN, not your social. Okay, there's a little pro tip that should be worth the whole class right there. All right, write a budget. You should list all your known expenses, leave lines for the unknown, and make sure it balances at the end of the month. If you need help with budgeting, I highly recommend Dave Ramsey and his classes. Everything that you do, everything that you can do in your personal finances, you can also do with business. Just going to catch up on comments here. If the client wants an invoice, yeah, your client, you should be invoicing your clients like a paper invoice versus just a you owe me this much verbal agreement. I would always do paper. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but that's yeah, always do everything on paper. Have a paper trail, have a written contract. I'm coming to that stuff in a few minutes. I do want to stay on track though. Okay, tools and equipment that you're going to need to start. This is going to be different depending on what services you offer. So I'm not going to go through like line by line, okay? Because you know what services you're good at, what gardening skills you have. Whatever tools you already use are probably what you're going to use in the field. I have several videos on my page about the tools that we use. And, you know, don't be afraid to try new things, but stick with what works. You don't need to reinvent the wheel either. And then you can always rent equipment. If you need something bigger than what you have, rental companies are awesome. I'm coming to that, Haley. You got it. You're on the right track already. Okay, so for rentals, shop around and find the best place. Honestly, in Spokane, the best rental place is the little tiny rental center on Garland and Driscoll. for some reason the name of the place is, it's a hardware store that does rentals, and they have the lowest prices and they're really friendly to businesses. So I really like working with them on the rentals. Way better than like Home Depot or anything that's constantly raising their prices and has all the fees and everything else. No, don't like it. Okay. Next topic. Okay. Organizing the office, the truck, the shed, the tools, and the inventory. All right. So this is another one that I could dive into and spend an hour talking about. So I'm just going to hit the highlights. Figure out what works for you. And remember that it will evolve as time goes and as your business grows. You're going to need file drawers, lots of space for files. Each client should have a file, and yes, paper. You can probably do it on the computer, but there's going to be paper. Like, you're going to be leaving a paper worksheet at their door for most likely anyway, a list of what you did. And so you're going to have a copy of that as well. You're going to want a file to put those in. You're going to need a place to put all of your licenses and foundation documents and everything else. You're going to want to put a place to put your bank statements and your receipts. Have an easy filing system that works for you. And if what works for you is a catch-all basket and you hire an assistant to actually go through the minutia of organizing things, do that. It's better to just have one place where you, as the entrepreneur that's scattered all the time, you just drop everything and then have a really detail-oriented assistant that can go through and actually put it all where it belongs, than trying to force your brain to do something that is just not going to do. So do what works for you as far as organizing the office. Yeah. Don't throw it in the back of the car. That's a good way to lose everything, and then you'll never bill for everything correctly, and then you'll lose money. And just don't do that. Have at very least have like a 2-pocket folder that you have in your car, and that's where everything lives. Oh, hey Jessica, I'm glad you could join us. Yeah, Jessica is one of my detailed helpers, and she is fabulous. Absolutely wonderful. All right. Other files for your insurance, your vehicle records, etc. You're going to need a drawer in your file cabinet for each clients. I alphabetize them by last names. But again, do what works for you. I have in their file, I have their ledger. So I have a paper ledger, and I also have one online on my software. Okay. But I keep a paper one as a backup. Just in case, and because it's quicker for me to access that sometimes than it is to try to find it in the computer. So they have their ledger, a checklist. I have a new client checklist that I fill out to make sure that we did everything every time we get a new client. Their interview sheets and contracts, so that has job details and everything, and their signature at the bottom, okay? And any designs and notes about their projects. And then I also have the worksheets, the records of the work that we did. Is all there in their file in order, so that I can find things when I need to. Okay, and then I have another drawer in my file cabinet for tool records, employee files, new hire packets, etc., stuff like that. So employees is a whole other topic. I'm not going to get into that yet, and I probably won't have time to, honestly, before we have to finish this live stream. Then we have the computer and your software. Okay. You could theoretically manage your business from your phone if you have the right software. I prefer having a desktop for the minutia of the business, because it's just easier to see the screen when it's that big, and you can have multiple tabs and all the other stuff. Software that you're going to need a printer also. Software you're going to want to use to have something for your invoicing and accounting. So maybe you want QuickBooks. Maybe you don't want to make that kind of an investment right away. You're going to want some kind of spreadsheet and Word document, whether you use Microsoft Office, Excel, or something else. That's up to you. I prefer Office over the free ones, but free's free. I'm going to take free if I don't want to pay the $600 a year or whatever it is right now for an Office suite. You can also use Google Docs, which is free for your spreadsheets. We do a lot in Google Docs, actually, a lot more in recent years. My other assistant, Erin, she wants to do some stuff from home. So she's set up a whole bunch of Google Docs so she can access everything wherever she is, and can work from home. And it's absolutely been fabulous. Personally, I don't like something about the layout of Google Docs. I just don't get, but it works for her. And if it works for her, it works for me. That's how I see that one. QuickBooks is a whole nother conversation again, because it does make accounting and record keeping much easier. But it's also rather kind of on the expensive side if you're starting out. And you're going to need something for scheduling. Now, Haley already mentioned this in the comments. I use Yardbook, and Yardbook is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm kind of thinking, no, I don't think I should put that information on on the internet live. But basically, go to yardbook.com, and you can poke around their website. It's a free or very low-cost subscription scheduling software for landscaping businesses. And it has pretty much everything we could possibly need. And for the most part, it's free. I have no idea how they make money, but they do. We finally signed up for the paid subscription simply because I felt guilty using the free one. We've been using it for years, and it's so good. It has everything we need. Now, we did, with one of the reasons we got the paid one, aside from that I just wanted to, was because you can do bulk texts. So you can send out text to all your clients all at once. Anybody's scheduled on a certain day, or you can select which clients you want to send a text to or whatever. But as far as scheduling software, it does everything that I needed, and very, very low cost. I think my subscription is $30 a month, and it does everything. If you start researching scheduling software for businesses, okay, don't call Verizon. I'll tell you that one, because they will never stop spamming you. Even after you say, stop calling me, they will still call you. And their base package for my business with like 10 employees at the time was a $700 setup fee and $800 a month. Don't waste your time. Don't even go to their website. Yes, they have a scheduling software. It's not worth it. I don't care what kind of bells and whistles it comes with. I don't want to spend that kind of money. Go to Yardbook. It's free. All right. Yeah, Jobber's another one. There's so many. There are so many, and the prices vary so much. It's absolutely insane. So just save yourself the time and the headache. Like do check to see if there's anything you like better, but for the most part, you're probably going to end up at Yardbook if you're a landscape company and you want a scheduling software. And yeah, you can integrate into QuickBooks with Yardbook. And I don't know if that's the paid version or not. We still don't have QuickBooks. We just do everything. We use Yardbook's invoicing, and I have an Excel spreadsheet where I keep all of my financial reports and stuff. Which I don't know if I have that coming up or not. Clients emergency. I don't think I do. I don't have financial statements in here. I need to add that. Okay. Let's talk financial statements real quick, because this is really important. And this is something that apparently a lot of small business owners don't do, and some of them don't even know about. And this blows my mind. Okay. There's several financial statements: your profit and loss, your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, and that one is the third one, is the cash flow statement. And then you're also going to have your accounts receivables and probably projections. But doing projections is hard even when you do have a history to look at. So doing them when you're starting out is not really realistic, but you can try. Okay, So what each one is, accounts receivables. I think I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for this. Because one, I want to try sharing my screen. And two, I want to just entire screen. There we go. Boom. Go. Ha! Now you can see what I see. Isn't this fun? All right. This is my Excel spreadsheet that I use to manage my business. This first tab is accounts receivables. So you see my clients' names here, their subtotal before tax, their taxes here, totals here, and then when they paid their bill. And then all of these two columns, the totals and the amounts paid, total up here. So this is my new spreadsheet that I just updated for this year. And all of the bill, this was actually billed last year, but it's money that came in this year. So it has to go on the new spreadsheet. But it totals up so that you can see how much I billed, how much I've paid, and how much I still have out there in receivables. And so this helps me manage my, how do I say this? My projections for when I know that I have a big tax bill coming, or when I know that payroll's coming, or whatever. I'll know, yes, I can afford that because I have this much that should be coming in the next 2 weeks. I wonder if you're able to change the view from the, oh yeah, no, that's exactly what I want. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Sorry. We're trying new things with this software, and it's pretty nifty. Okay, so that's accounts receivables. You need to have something like this. And again, QuickBooks does this. And, you know, in a much better interface than with my homemade Excel spreadsheet. I use this to pay my sales tax on a little worksheet that I created up here. Is it the right way to do it? I don't know, but it works for me. Okay, I know that I'm paying the right amount of sales tax, whereas every software I've tried, I cannot for the life of me figure out where they get the number that I'm supposed to be paying. And if I can't back it up, my view on it is, if I ever were to get audited on my sales tax and I say, I don't know where the number came from, I just used this software. To me, that seems like a much weaker argument than, here's what I did, this, step by step. And that's where I got my number. So at least that I can back up. Okay, profit and loss. This right here is the most important spreadsheet your business will have. And if you don't know and understand what a P&L is, I'm sorry for saying this out loud, but you have no business being in business. Okay, understand this spreadsheet so that you can use it before you start making any money. Okay, so here's mine from last year. Revenue that came in, expenses that went. So cost of goods sold is when you actually, usually when you purchase something to then resell it, or in the case of a service industry, you can put wages here, but this is wages for people in the field only. Your office and admin goes down under other expenses. Okay. I'll slide it over to my annual so you can actually see the final numbers. Now, again, this is after 10 years, not 10 years. This was my 9th year in business. My total revenue last year was actually down from the previous year. This was $250,000. The previous year, I was just shy of 300. But this last year in 2023, it was so hard to hire anybody. We were running a skeleton crew all year. And so we worked very few hours. And that's why this number is so low. Wages between your crew in the field and your admin, expect to pay somewhere between 40 and 50% of your revenue, at least. And then taxes should be somewhere around the 20% mark. And this is sales tax, your labors and industries tax, employment security tax, IRS, Secretary of State. This is renewing my license every year. And then paid family and medical leave and Washington Cares tax. So these are all, these are state specific taxes. So again, you're going to need to talk to your accountant about what those are. And then I have several other line items, things like insurance for the truck, gas, my legal counsel, and other this is my accountant, and Legal Shield goes on that line. Truck maintenance. We don't go to the dump very often anymore. We've found a better way to save some money on that one, but it is still a thing we do occasionally, so it's on there. And then also marketing. Okay, so if you take out any ads, your website fees should go there, etc. Office supplies. I'm always blown away at how much we spend on office supplies and shipping. This is pens, copy paper, and stamps right there. $5,000 last year we spent on that. And then it should total everything up at the bottom. Now you'll notice that what I paid myself was not up here. That in an LLC happens after your net profit. So I paid myself a whopping $20,000 last year. So as of last year, I'm still not making a huge amount of money in this industry. Now I'm hoping that change. I hope that changes. I did a lot of changes at the end of last year that should fix that. So, but time will tell. Really, that's where we're at. Do I have these templates by any chance? So if you do email me about my class, I will be giving you access to a secret private Facebook page where all of this stuff is saved as blank templates, as well as all of the recordings of the first run through I did of that class. So yes, I do have those available to share, but that's an only if you actually get access type of a thing. I'm not going to send that to just anybody. Do you do salary payments for yourself? Okay, so salary versus distributions. I am an LLC, which means I have distributions or disbursement payments or draws. You can call it any of those things. Owner's draws is I think what my accountant calls it. When I pay myself, it's considered a draw. Basically, an LLC means that there's a veil between you and your company, but it's still, the company is still basically you. And if you take money out of your company to pay yourself, it's a draw. You're just taking money from the company and it becomes yours. If you have an S Corp, I don't think you'll need a C Corp. That's for bigger companies. If you do an S Corp for your business, then you will be on payroll and taking either a salary or an hourly pay with a W-2. So that has more to do with business structure than anything else. But personally, I do an owner's draw so far. I will probably be incorporating as an S Corp in the near future. We started talking about that with my accountant right before COVID, and then all of that. And so we've tabled it for the time being because it just hasn't seemed like the right thing to do between the PPP and not wanting to muddy up that and just everything else that was going on. We decided to not switch over to an S Corp yet, but we will be reopening that conversation pretty soon, I think. Okay. Then go back to sharing my screen. Entire screen. Share. Okay. All right. So that's the P&L. There are videos on YouTube University, okay, which I joke about it, but really you can learn about this from YouTube, and I highly recommend understanding how to write a P&L and how to read it, because this tool is absolutely essential for your business. Okay, this tab is something I created for trying to figure out my pricing. Cash flow statement is the other one. So this is quite literally just a record of how much money you had in your bank account on the first day. Let me go to last year. On the first day of that month, how many sales, how much money came in, what your expenses were, and then what the balance is. It's literally starting balance plus minus equals. That's all it is. But it's a running total that shows you how much money you had in your account each month. And then you can add a budgeted sales line where you can go, okay, I think I'm going to make this much, and it'll show the difference. So this month I thought, I think I'm going to bring in 20 grand, and I actually brought in almost 39. Yay, that's a happy surprise. Well, this month I thought maybe I'll bring in 30 and I actually brought in 22. Okay, not quite the same. So that's just a fun little projection game you can play down here at the budgeted sales section. I haven't fully unlocked like the benefit of having this, but I know it is an essential financial statement to have to run a business. So that one's important. And then the last one is the balance sheet. This, I honestly still don't know how to fully use this to its full potential, but I had help making this from my mentor with SCORE, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. Basically what a balance sheet is, let me just slide over so it's not super confusing. Okay. It compares side by side 2 years, how much you have in assets minus how much you have in liabilities equals owner's equity, which means how much, it's not really how much your business is worth. It's how much dollars you own in this business, basically. So I have quite a few assets, being accounts receivables, some cash in the bank, my vehicles, which have depreciated, and I can't ever fill this out without my accountant's help because there's all this depreciation and stuff that goes in there. So total assets equals $100,000. Cool. That's how much I have in assets. Yay. Minus liabilities. This is things like debts that I owe, bills that I need to pay, etc. Things that are by definition a liability. They go here, equals this number, and that therefore equals my owner's equity. And those two sides should balance. That's why it's called a balance sheet. Okay, and I think that's it for all of that. You should do your due diligence and learn how to use those financial statements, again, before you start business, because that's something you're going to want to know ahead of time. You just learned that draws don't reduce your tax burden, but salary or wage can. Is that correct? Maybe it depends on admin. Okay, so that's a question for your accountant, Haley. But you're correct. Draws are not a write-off. So what, how an LLC works, let me see if I can explain this. It confuses me too, because it just makes no sense. Basically, when you have an LLC or a sole proprietorship, however much money the business makes that it doesn't spend is your profit, even if you don't bring it all home. So let's say my revenue for the year was $100,000. I spent 75 of that in wages, taxes, and overhead. So I have 25 left, but I only took home 15 of it. I left 10,000 in the business for the purposes of future investment and regrowth and all that stuff. The IRS don't care. I get to pay income tax on the full 25%, or 25,000 in this case, which I think is stupid, but the IRS don't care what my opinion is. So that's the way it is. That's the game we're currently playing. If you don't like that, you can try an S Corp. But again, if you're not making at least $30,000 or $40,000 in profit, an S Corp doesn't make sense yet. So build your business. If you're going to start small, just do an LLC. Yes, the IRS does suck. 100%. Start your business small as like an LLC, and then become an S Corp later when you've got enough profit and revenue and whatnot to back up that decision. And you and your accountant should make that decision together. All right. I think that's enough on that topic. We need to move on. Clients and marketing is next. And I think that's probably as far as we're going to get. Yeah, you're so welcome, Haley. Before I go too much farther, if you have any questions on anything, put them in the comments right now, because I know I'm going to run out of time here soon, and I want to make sure that I answer the questions that you guys have. And while you're typing those, I'm going to move forward into What's next? Clients and marketing. Okay. So now that you've got your business licenses, you've got your tools, you've got your all your I's dotted and T's crossed, and you're ready to go, where do you find your first clients? I had a little bit of an in on this one. I had the business I worked for before I started my own company, and also another friend who was in a similar business but wanted to retire. They both gave me a couple of clients to start out with. So I started my first year with 15 clients and then doubled every year from there until 2020 screwed everything up. But I will say that the best places I've found clients are not paid ads. Every time I've paid for an ad, it's been a huge waste of money. Most of my clients come from me meeting people and handing out business cards, or from my current clients telling their friends. So probably the first place to look for a client is going to be at events. Like we have the Garden Expo every year. I find a lot of clients from there, honestly. And yeah, word of mouth, exactly. But that first couple clients are going to be your hardest ones. As soon as you find a few, they're going to start telling their friends, and you're going to grow like wildfire, especially if you put some kind of incentive like, hey, please tell your friends and I'll give you 2 hours free or something like that, right? I did that my first year, but honestly, I found out that most of my clients didn't care. They were just going to tell their friends because they loved my service, and that's all they needed. Yeah, Haley, go ahead and post all of your questions, and I'll do my best to answer them in the time that we have. If we run out, then we can catch up later. You go ahead and send me that email. And again, folks, if you're interested in finding out more information about the class where I go into a lot more detail about all of these topics and several more that I didn't have time to get to today, send an email to gardenuplandscape@yahoo.com, or check out my website, gardenuplandscape.com, and click on the Gardeners in Business tab. Okay, you'll find a whole outline of all of the topics that I teach, as well as my email address, so that you can send me an email and say, hey, I want access to your class. Again, it's not polished. It's not like ready for sale. You're getting early access, and it's lifetime access, because I don't like those stupid games where it's a subscription where you have to pay for it every month or anything like that. It's just like, here it is, join. Thank you, welcome, you're in. That's it. As long as you don't do like illegal or immoral stuff and I find out about it, you have access to our group forever. Okay. Yes. So for that first client, yes, if you have people come out and ask if you're for hire, hand them a business card. You've got to have some handy, but the answer is yes, here's my card. And yes, I'm currently accepting new clients. And if you can, even just book a consultation right there. Some of my best clients were, I was out working in the field and some neighbor came up and said, hey, can I hire you too? Har, har, har. And I was like, yeah, actually you can. And they're like, oh, really? Okay, let's do this. And then you book the consultation right there. And there you've got a new client. Boom, just like that. But so yeah, like expos and events, things where you can have a booth and you can advertise your services that way. Craigslist, of all places, you can post, and Nextdoor, you can post free or really low cost ads for your services. And then just talking to people, like groups, parent groups, kid groups. Where is your target market hanging out? That's really the thing, is you want to identify your target market and figure out where those people are going to go, where they will see your ad, see your business. So if you are targeting retired yet affluent folks, you're not going to be going to your kids' PTA meetings to try to find clients. Okay, you're going to figure out where your target market is, where they hang out, and where they might see your ad, and go to some of those events. That's how you're going to find clients. And again, once you get your foot in the door with a few, be ready to open the floodgates, because they're going to come. If you are good at what you do, People are going to call you and they are going to be happy to pay whatever you are asking for. Okay. Yeah. So do consultations on the spot if you can, when you're starting out. Once you get into business and you actually have like a client list, you're not going to be able to do it like that anymore. You're going to have to schedule them. And here's another real quick trick. If you start to get overwhelmed with too many new clients, spread out when you do those consultations. So you're only doing 1 or 2 a week, and then you're starting 1 or 2 new clients a week. You can get them started and done before you start your next one. And it's just like a conveyor belt of consultations and new clients. How sophisticated of a website do you think is necessary for a gardening business? Well, you can check out mine. I get a few new clients from my website and my Google presence every year. Not a whole lot, but I've actually, in recent years, I have gotten a lot of new clients just from my Google listings. So the important thing there is have a nice looking website. It doesn't have to be super fancy or sophisticated, but have a few pages that outline what your services are. You can put your fees on there, but if you do, you're going to have to constantly update it whenever you change your prices. So honestly, I don't recommend that. And plus, if you do any kind of bid work where you actually say, okay, I think this project is going to cost this much. Here's an agreement. Sign here, Mr. Client. You can't put that on your website because it's going to be different per job. So I wouldn't put prices on there, but do outline what you do with your specifics and put pictures. Pictures are really, that's the most important thing. I have a few carousels of pictures that describe what we do. And yeah, I have a few things on there. So poke around my website and you'll see what mine looks like. I don't know that it's the perfect example, but it's what works for me. Do you find email campaigns at current or past clients to be effective? I've never done an email campaign and I have no intention to. So no, I guess would be my answer to that one. I don't even ask my clients for their email address unless they want e-billing, which we hardly ever remember to do anyway. We just mail paper invoices. So I have a few emails, but I've never done like an email campaign or anything. What I do is I mail newsletters pretty regularly with their invoices. So whenever I send an invoice, every 2 months, we write a newsletter that says basically what's going on with the company. Here's what's coming up next, what you're going to see in your yard, like what we're going to be doing in the next few months. And maybe I'll advertise like, hey, if you want to reduce your water use, you should check out the Spokanescape program or consider Waterwise Gardens and we can help you with that, or Pollinator Gardens or whatever. So I'll put that in a newsletter. But no, I don't do email campaigns just because I've never felt the need to. And then, yeah, Squarespace and Ultra. Yeah. Yeah, you can, though. I'm not saying you can't. You have to have a list of email addresses in order for that to do anything. So if you're just getting started and you don't have a client list yet, then an email campaign is not going to do much. Do I have online bill pay? Yes. And so it is through Yardbook. And I always tell my clients that I do not recommend using it. So here's the thing. I don't have a big enough margin to pay the merchant fees on credit card payments. I also don't want to raise my rates on everybody just so that I could cover the merchant fees for credit card payments. So rather than scalping all of my clients for something that only a few people use, I made the selection on Yardbook to pass the merchant fees on to the customer that is paying the bill. So if the customer wants to pay through Yardbook, there's a link at the bottom of their invoice and instructions and all this thing. And it's actually really easy to do. But their merchant fees get added onto their bill. So for the people that ask if I do online payments, what I actually recommend for them is I say, yes, you can do it through my invoicing software, and there's a link at the bottom, and you can do it that way. Or you can log into your bank, your online mobile banking. You can go to your bill pay, add me as a payee, and then type in the amount and mail me a check. The bank will mail me a check. That costs the client nothing, and I get it in the mail just like all my other checks, and I take it to the bank and I deposit it. Now, that won't work for all of you. Some of you would probably prefer online payment, and that's fine. The merchant fees are basically a convenience fee, but it just makes me sick that somewhere between 3 and 6% of the dollars that you worked for are going to go to some unknown entity just because they processed the payment. Honestly, it's disgusting. So I prefer checks, and most of my clients, being that the vast majority of them are retired, they like checks too, because they don't want to bother with that new age internet nonsense, you know. So it works for most of us. And the few clients that prefer to pay online, they just go to their online bill pay and do it that way. Okay. I didn't know this season starting back up. I get your email address and consultation. Yeah. So Haley, yes, if you get your email addresses during your consultation and you primarily want to communicate with your clients that way, that's totally fine. Like, do what works for you. That the email that you send when the season's going to start up is the same as the newsletter I send out sometime in February, saying basically the same thing. I think the season's going to start up around this time, and here's my employees that are coming back this year, and etc. If you want to be on my list of clients that we start early, call us now. Otherwise, we'll be calling you sometime in the next few weeks to get your services for the year. You know, so I put all that in a letter and I mail it through the post office. But you can do that online and probably be a lot more effective, as long as it doesn't get lost in people's inboxes. That's the problem with that one. And yeah, fees. Okay, and you say, one service I offer monthly maintenance plans for weeding, trimming, fertilizing, but seems to struggle with how to quote them effectively. How would you go about pricing this service effectively, and why? Okay, that's a whole lesson in my class. But where I landed finally, after trying and failing and trial and error and whatnot on several different pricing structures, where I landed is right where I started, which I bill hourly. It's so much easier than trying to quote out jobs and hope that you get done in the time allotted. And it just, for this kind of a maintenance industry, there's so many variables. Each yard is different. Each time you go, you're going to be looking at different challenges. There's going to be new weeds, or you know, whatever, something you've never dealt with before, or you're going to uncover some new thing that you've never seen before. Like, it happens. I tried a thing with packages where I charged the same price per visit based on the previous year, how long we spent there. And it was cute, and it worked for the first year, but by the second year it started to break down, and it was so hard to manage. And from an accounting standpoint, it just made my office assistants want to pull their hair out, because trying to keep track of who was on which type of billing and what their package was and what it included, and then getting the gardeners to adhere to, you can only be here for this much time, period. It just didn't work for anybody in the end. So, you know, I was really glad that some of my clients let me try that out, and they appreciated having the predictable bill. But in the end, nobody cared about it. They decided they would rather have the work be done every week, everything. Here's my list. Take as much time as you actually need and just get it all done. And then there's a few that the clients have a budget that we stay in, so they can only afford 4 hours a visit or 10 hours a month or whatever it is. And we work up to that amount based on their priorities, and we stop. So that's how we keep things affordable for our clients. And then, yeah, how I bill is just by hour, and then by how much by products actually used. So I charge cost plus a little markup on most of my stuff that I resell. Okay, have you had any blowback in charging hourly, or people wanting to micromanage your time? Yes, I have had that. Mostly, here's the challenges I have run into with charging hourly. Most of them started, honestly, at the beginning when I was a brand new business owner and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And managing employees was not new to me because I'd done a lot of people management in the past, but just at that level was kind of new. I've had clients complain that one employee wasn't moving very fast. Okay, so the slow employee, that's something that comes up a couple times a year, maybe, or sometimes I never hear about it for years on end, and then other times it's 2 or 3 times in a year I'll hear about something. It's usually the same employee that I get that kind of complaint about, because yeah, it does look like they're moving slow. And so I'll keep an eye on that employee, and I will talk to that employee, and I'll just say, hey, I got this complaint. I won't say which client it came from because they don't need to know. The point is they said this, so I need you to, make sure that you're working with alacrity and you have a pep in your step so that people, because they pay us a lot of money for this, they don't want to see you dragging your feet. But that's the main problem with billing by the hour, is that clients want to see you working efficiently if you're going to be working by the hour. I've never really had to micromanage people. And the few people that I have felt like I need to micromanage don't stay very long, because either we mutually agree that this is not the right position for them, or they just find their way out. Honestly, that's kind of how that works. Are there any services I stay away from, and why? Yes, many. Pretty much everything that is done by other companies, I don't bother with. So mowing lawns, shearing hedges, all of that stuff that your typical mow and blow guys do, where they 3 or 4 guys drive up in a truck, they're there for 10 minutes, and then they leave. I don't do any of that. Why? Because the market is saturated. I don't need to compete in that market. I have my own niche, and I don't need to branch out into a market that already has plenty of companies fulfilling that need. Also, I hate grass. If you've seen my videos, you find out I really don't like grass. My mission is to remove grass, not maintain it. Okay, another thing I don't do is anything to do with landscape fabric. I already mentioned that a few minutes ago. Every time I try to do anything that involves landscape fabric, I know better. I don't even know why I do it. I've only done it a couple times. It always backfires. I hate landscape fabric. The last thing we need is more plastic loose in the environment, not to mention the fact that it just doesn't work. It doesn't keep weeds down. Weeding keeps weeds down. Fabric does not keep weeds down long term. So I do not like to install landscape fabric. I also don't do irrigation, just because I don't want to. And I don't do anything heavy duty. I don't do anything that involves big equipment, aside from a sod cutter. I will use a sod cutter. I'll rent one. But I'm not using backhoes. I'm not using skid steers. I'm not using any big diggers, nothing like that. Because one, I don't have the equipment. I don't want to rent the equipment. I also don't want the liability. And again, I don't need to. There's already other companies that do those things. I do not feel like I need to compete in that particular niche. I have my niche. I stay where I'm good at. So that those are the main things I stay away from, is just things that need more equipment or bigger, heavier duty stuff, and the stuff that other people already do. So I'm carving out my own little business with stuff that very few people do. Okay. How much monthly revenue do you recommend making before hiring your first part-time employee or full-time employee? That is completely up to you. I actually hired my first employee day one because I didn't want to have to do all of the heavy lifting. And for me at the time, I was also pregnant with Lily, and I knew I was going to need to take a maternity leave later on in the summer. So I needed to have somebody that could maintain the clients while I was on leave. So I started out with an employee right off the bat. That first employee lasted about 1 month before life took him to Oregon, and I had to look again. And then I found another one that was fabulous. She was exactly what I needed at that time. She stayed with me for like 2 years before life took her back to school and off in another direction. But she was able to do everything while I was on taking my time off. And I never had to worry about if anything was being done or not. It was excellent. So to me, it's not really a revenue issue. It's what are the needs of your company? That kind of an issue. But as long as you or your company is making a profit and can afford an employee, then an employee is mostly going to be an improvement to your revenue, because then you're making profit on two people instead of just you. So having employees is very, very helpful. And also you can delegate things and you don't have to do everything. So yeah, it's more of an issue of what do you need and can you afford it versus is there a dollar amount of revenue that you need before you hire an employee. So that is something you have to figure out for yourself, but there's the outline of it. All right, I'm discontinuing mowing this year. God, but hedges are a moneymaker for me, and ornamental tree pruning. Yeah, fine. If you like doing that stuff, keep doing it. Tree pruning is a whole science in and of itself. So I will say that if you know arboriculture and you know how to prune trees correctly, definitely do that. Know where your limits are. That's another thing I don't do is I'll prune a tree if I can reach it without a ladder. If I need a ladder to get into that tree, I will refer you to an arborist, because at that point the tree is too big for me. I'm not insured for ladders and I don't want to be. So at that point, I feel like you need to hire somebody that actually does trees, that's all they do. And also when we prune trees, it's me that does it personally. I do not delegate tree pruning to my employees, because there's so many ways to screw up a tree. I just don't want to even cross that bridge. Nope. So if it's going to be a mistake, it's going to be mine so that I can own up to it and I can make it right for the employee. So far I haven't had, or the client, so far I haven't had too much trouble with that. I want to hire a part-timer this season, but also just not sure I'm ready financially and or as a new business owner. Yeah. So again, it's completely like what feels right to you. If you want somebody to help you part-time a couple days a week or something with some of your bigger clients, do that, try it out, and see what happens. All right. What are some of the challenges you've ran into when trying to find employees? Finding them. That is the challenge, is finding them. Finding in this particular market right now, finding good employees is the challenge. So, I'll say what's worked over the years and what hasn't. I cannot believe Ellen's not awake yet. This is crazy. We're getting some good time in here. What does not work? Paying for expensive help wanted ads on help wanted job sites. Okay, so you get what are the ones you hear the ads about? Hazel, help me out. What are the ones the Indeed? Yeah, Indeed and Spokane has jobs and all those places where you Craigslist you pay, but that one I've actually had luck on. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the ones that claim to seek out job applicants that'll fit your job, I have not had luck with those. I've tried them a few times and they have found me loads of manure. Okay, I've hired a couple employees from that, and none of them lasted more than a couple of weeks, and they were a headache while they were here. Just awful. Is battery getting low? Yeah. Here, underneath the desk. There you go. So I do not recommend using those. Also, I tried paying for Facebook ads once. I got a lot of messages, but nobody that could follow instructions. And I think I hired maybe 2 out of dozens. It was dozens and dozens of messages and applications that I had to sift through in order to find anybody that was actually worth hiring. Now, the couple that I did were amazing workers, but again, this is an entire class, an entire lecture in my class. What does work, what I've had good luck with anyway, is Craigslist, surprisingly. I don't know why, but the people that work that want to work in the kind of job that I offer are on Craigslist for some reason. So if you're posting a help wanted ad, you do have to pay for it. It's not free. It's $25 for a help wanted ad, or $5 if you post it as a gig ad, which is like a short-term little, like a weekend job or something. I tried gigs last fall when I only had a couple of weeks left and I just needed anybody that could hold a frickin' rake. rake some leaves and finish up the season on time. And that one was a open the floodgates situation. I got applicants coming out of my ears, but most of them were, I hate to put it this way, but they were utterly useless. They couldn't follow instructions. Most of them didn't show up. But I did hire a few, and the few that I did, like, if you can get through my application process, I've weeded out most of those people. So by the time I actually get to the point of hiring, I know they're going to be pretty good. And I go into full detail on that one, but I'm not going to have time to do that right now, because that's a 20-minute conversation right there, how I weed out applicants and only hire good ones. I can't say only hire. There's a few that still get through. There's always going to be a few applicants that aren't worth hiring that manage to get through your process. But if you can reduce that headache just a little bit, then it's worth it. But yeah, Craigslist, and then not Facebook job ads, but in local Facebook groups is another place to advertise. So I literally just put up my help wanted ad on my website, and then I post that link in a so we have the Spokane Gardening Spokane and Surrounding, I think is the name of the Facebook page. I put that in there, and then I've gotten a few good applicants that way, of people that are already passionate about gardening, and yeah, I want to try to be a professional gardener. That'd be fun. So that's where I find a lot of people, is actually on Facebook and Craigslist. But again, don't pay for Facebook ads. That is a huge waste of money. It gets expensive so fast, and you get a lot of manure out of it, honestly. It's just a pain. Okay, what payroll software do you recommend and why? I recommend my accountant. I think she uses QuickBooks, but I honestly have no idea, because she just mails me the pay stubs. Next one. Give me some more, Haley. Also, anybody else, any questions, shoot them now. It's open Q&A. My throat's starting to get sore, all this talking. Let's see, what's next on my list here? And the next things on my topics are pricing and scheduling. And then, yeah, employees, which, like I said, is an entire class in and of itself. Payroll and invoicing. I touch back on existence, again, keeping things organized and what to track. I'll talk about this one now. You will want to track things in your business so that you can view and compare to previous years, and you can see your growth. So you see the memes and the pictures of board meetings and stuff, just the stock photos of, there's the chart with the bell curve or the crash or whatever. You do want to track something, and whether it be revenue or profit or sales on a specific item, it's far easier to distinguish that item and start tracking it in real time than it is to retroactively go back and try to figure out what that number was. You can still do it later if you want to. You suddenly decide, I should have tracked this item, this specific thing. You can retroactively go back and start tracking it, but it's far easier to just start from the beginning. And okay, how do you go about getting a specialty contractor license? You need to look up what contractor license you need in your state or your municipality, and then look at what department of the government you have to apply for it at, and follow their instructions. Everyone is different, and so I don't know. I can't answer that specifically because it will only apply to Spokane. All right, and is it just apply and pay the fee through L&I? Probably. Some of the contractors' licenses, and so this is why I haven't gotten mine yet, is because it is a 60 or 80 hour class or something that you have to take and then pass a test, and then there's the fee, and if you fail the test, you got to pay the fee again. And I literally take plants out of pots and I put them in the ground. I don't feel like I need a contractor's license for that, but the government says I do. So it is, like I said, it is on my to-do list to get this license. I just haven't yet. But yeah, there is a fee and you do have to apply, and then it's the process that's going to be different in each state and each municipality. What are some of the risks either on the job or as an employer you ran into? Ooh, you got good questions. Okay. All right. Some risks. Well, probably the biggest one is employees getting hurt. You have to make sure to keep your job area safe for both your employees and yourself and your clients. You don't want anybody getting hurt. Aside from just the fact that obviously you don't want anybody getting hurt, but also because of the liability issue. An L&I claim can raise your taxes so much that it can put you out of business. You just don't want to do that. Other risks are if you take shortcuts in your estimating for your jobs, you can underestimate what something will cost and lose money. So you don't want to do that. Taking on something that you don't know how to do. So like I said, I did the landscape fabric thing and I regretted it. I'll share this one because it's on my mind. For my flip, okay, this is me on the customer side. I hired a contractor a few years ago to do some work. He said he knew how to do everything on my list. But a few weeks in, it was apparent that he didn't. I am still dealing with the backlash of that decision to hire him. Because, one, he did shoddy work, and I had to fire him. Two, he demanded payment that was far more than what was reasonable. And by far more, I mean 5 figures. When I had to pay people to fix what he did. I did send him a settlement check, which he did not cash, and he's now sending me to collections and trying to threaten court and all this stuff because I never paid him. And even though the counsel I got from both my lawyer and other contractors was I shouldn't have to pay him anything because this work was so bad. But so I'm sharing this because from a risk standpoint, he didn't have a contract, and I was in a hurry and forgot to ask for one. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. He was a brand new business owner, which to me was like, I'm going to help this guy out. He's got years of experience, and I'll help him out, and I'll give him a good referral, and da-da-da-da-da-da. No, he didn't have any references, and I couldn't have checked references. So that was a huge risk on my part that I should have known better and didn't do things properly. I didn't do my due diligence. But from a business owner standpoint, he should have never taken on my project. That's really what it comes down to, is that he should have said, thanks, but this is above my skill level right now, and I don't think I should take this on. Or I could take on these parts of it, but not these. So again, know what you're good at and stick to it. And if you want to start a new, there's the baby. Don't come too far in because there's a cord right there. I see that. For her, though. If you want to offer a new service, make sure you learn it first and you practice it before you ever try it in a client's yard. So you'll see my experiments in my own yard on my videos. That's me learning something before I offer it to my clients, because I want to make sure I understand this and I know it top to bottom, and I can absolutely guarantee that this is the right solution for them. Thank you, Data. What do your clients' contracts typically say or cover? How do you go about presenting or obtaining them? Okay, them being the contracts. We wrote out a contract a few years ago, and I had it read by a lawyer who made some suggestions, and we did those edits. And so let me show you one, actually. Let me just grab it. So, let me make sure they can see this. So right up here, you see I have my logo, my information, and then I have a spot for the client's name, outlines of the job, specifics that they can change for each client. So how often they want us to visit, what they want us to do with their debris, etc., and then more details, deposit, and then how much we're going to charge. I don't have my price on this sheet because I change my prices more often than I reorder these sheets. because I buy them in bulk by the thousands. And, we often change our prices. We make some adjustment almost every year. So this is a duplicate. Okay. I leave the yellow copy with the client. They sign at the bottom. Before they sign, I flip it over and I say, okay, here's our contract. This says we're going to do what it says on the front, the scope of work section. To the best of our abilities, we'll do it for the price we said. You'll pay for it when it's done. And if there's a problem, let's talk it out. And that is the layman's terms of everything that's on this contract. We're going to do the work for the price we said. You're going to pay for it. And if we have an issue, let's talk. And thus far, since implementing this, I have never had an issue with my clients and getting paid.
Hello, Precious. Come say hi. Oh, here she is. Mwah. Oh, you're just so precious, sitting all pretty. Oh, look at you. You're adorable. Okay, so that's what's on my contract. And then I have another, I leave them the yellow copy, like I said, and I keep the white one. And I have another dual thing like this that I call a worksheet that we fill out at the job, and it says what we did when we were there, and I use that for billing. So any supplies that we used, the hours that we spent, and what we did in that time is all laid out on that worksheet. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I think I'm officially out of time. This was, wow, much longer than I had expected. Thanks for sticking out with it, guys. And I hope it was really valuable for you. Remember to hit the like button for me. That'll throw this video out to other people, so more people can see it. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do that. I have one more live stream coming up next Wednesday, garden Q&A. And so that one's going to be especially fun because the goal for that is to stump me. You're going to try to stump me with a gardening question, because what I really want to do is I want to show you how I research things. And so come with your questions and come with a notebook and a pencil, because you'll want to take notes on that. Okay, that's next Wednesday, 11 o'clock, right here on YouTube. And I think that's it for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the garden.